The rumors always said he preferred silence, but no one ever understood why. Every afternoon at exactly 1:15 p.m., the glass door of the small-town diner would swing open, and the same man, tall, impeccably dressed, cold-eyed, carrying the weight of the world in his shoulders, would walk in and choose the table tucked furthest into the corner. The other customers would glance, whisper, and sometimes stare, because everyone knew who he was. Adrian Hale, the elusive CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire, a man said to be brilliant, ruthless, unreachable. He always ate alone, never made eye contact, never responded to greetings, and never stayed longer than 20 minutes. To most customers, he was a mystery. To the staff, he was a routine. But to the shy waitress whose hands always trembled when she set his plate on the table, he was something far more complicated. Because she could see what others couldn't. She could see the emptiness in his eyes. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. The waitress, Mira, never spoke more than necessary. Life had humbled her enough times to carve out her voice until only a whisper remained. She was raising her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, entirely alone in a tiny rented room behind the diner. She had escaped years of a quietly collapsing marriage, followed by a year of relentless struggles, working double shifts to keep a roof overhead. Money was always short. Dreams were always postponed. But she tried her best to smile for Lily. She tried to make their world gentle even when hers wasn't. Lily was her son, bright, curious, soft-hearted, and endlessly observant. And from the first time she saw Adrian eat alone in that booth, she asked her mother the same question every day: why does he look so sad? Mira never had an answer. She wasn't sure herself if sadness was the right word. But she felt something, some heaviness around him that wasn't arrogance or indifference, but something deeper. Something like grief. And though she never dared to speak to him beyond "your order will be right out," she always treated him gently, as though he were fragile despite the intimidating power he clearly possessed. She didn't know that Lily was watching both of them, connecting pieces in her small, earnest mind. Adrian Hale lived in a world where nothing was genuine anymore. His days were filled with board meetings, investors, mergers, constant negotiations, press releases, and a schedule that consumed every breath. His nights were worse, quiet, empty rooms in a penthouse that overlooked the glowing city he owned pieces of but no longer felt connected to. 3 years earlier, he had lost the only person who truly softened him, his younger sister, a girl with a laugh bright enough to shatter his darkest moods. She was gone in seconds because a distracted driver ran a red light. Adrian had been on the other side of the world when it happened. The guilt swallowed him whole. Since then, he barely spoke unless required. He cut ties with friends, avoided family gatherings, rejected invitations. He came to the diner because the noise there was ordinary. Predictable. Human. But even then, he always ate alone. One rainy Thursday, Mira arrived late for her shift. She had spent the morning comforting Lily, who woke up crying from a nightmare she didn't remember. By noon, Lily was calm enough to draw quietly in a corner of the kitchen, her little shoes swinging under her chair as she hummed and sketched with cheap crayons. Mira rushed between tables, trying to hide her exhaustion. When Adrian arrived, she felt the usual flutter of nerves. She delivered his meal, careful not to spill a drop, and retreated quickly. But Lily, watching from across the room, noticed something no one else did. She noticed that Adrian paused before touching his food. He stared at the empty chair across from him as if someone invisible were supposed to be sitting there. Lily whispered to herself, "Nobody should eat alone." When Mira stepped into the back to grab more napkins, Lily slipped out of her chair, clutching the small folded note she had written during the morning. She walked across the diner with the shy determination children uniquely possess. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for her mother to return. She simply approached the lonely man everyone avoided. Adrian didn't notice her until the chair beside him shifted. He turned, startled, expecting an adult, but instead he saw a small girl with round, earnest eyes and short, soft hair held back with a faded pink clip. She didn't speak. She simply placed the folded note on the table beside his untouched plate, and then gently pushed it toward him with her tiny hand. The entire diner went silent. The other waitresses froze. A few customers stared wide-eyed. Mira, returning from the kitchen, nearly dropped the napkins when she saw her daughter sitting beside the CEO. Embarrassed panic surged through her chest. Her breath caught, and she rushed forward, apologizing under her breath, terrified of how he would react. But Adrian didn't look angry. He didn't look irritated. He looked surprised. Softened. Almost unguarded. He opened the note slowly. It read, "You look lonely. My mom says everyone deserves someone to sit with them. I can sit with you if you want." The words were written in lopsided letters, dotted with small hearts the girl probably drew without thinking. Adrian swallowed hard, feeling something tighten in his throat, something unfamiliar, raw, painful in a healing kind of way. No one had spoken to him with kindness in months. No one had reached out without wanting something. And here was this tiny girl, offering nothing but presence. Offering companionship without conditions. Before Mira could whisk Lily away, something shifted inside him. Over the following weeks, the diner's routine changed. Adrian no longer sat alone. Lily made it her mission to sit with him anytime she was there. She brought her drawings, her crayons, her stories. She talked softly, in shy bursts, and he listened. He didn't tell her about his money or his company or his losses. He simply let her fill the empty space beside him. And Mira, hesitant, embarrassed, apologizing at first, slowly relaxed when she saw Adrian never objected. If anything, he seemed calmer around Lily. He ate more of his food. He lingered a little longer. His eyes weren't as clouded. Mira noticed these changes in him cautiously, afraid of imagining things. But she also noticed changes in herself. She felt less afraid of him. Less intimidated. Sometimes he glanced at her with a look she couldn't decipher, as though he wanted to say something he didn't know how to put into words. As weeks became months, his visits grew. Sometimes he came twice a day. Sometimes he stayed late, long after the lunch crowd disappeared. One evening, when business was slow and rain blurred the windows, he lingered until closing time. Mira expected him to stand and leave without a word, but instead he reached into his coat and placed a small envelope on the counter. His voice was low, almost hesitant, as he said something to her she had never expected to hear in her life, something about wanting to help, something about her courage, something about her daughter's kindness reminding him of someone he once loved deeply. The envelope changed everything. Inside was an offer, a scholarship fund for Lily's future, fully paid. A quiet, gentle gesture intended without spotlight or publicity. Mira cried that night, tears of gratitude, fear, relief, and disbelief. She tried to refuse it, but he insisted quietly, with a sincerity that broke through her walls. He told her that Lily had reminded him what kindness felt like again, and that some gifts didn't need to be questioned, they just needed to be accepted with the same innocence with which they were given. The more their lives intertwined, the more both Mira and Adrian found themselves healing in ways neither expected. Mira rediscovered her confidence, little by little, feeling seen for the first time in years. Adrian rediscovered laughter, soft at first, then more natural. He rediscovered the comfort of human connection, something he had buried beneath success and grief. But healing is never simple. Rumors spread quickly in small towns. People whispered about the CEO who spent too much time in a humble diner. Some accused Mira of chasing a wealthy man. Some accused Adrian of having inappropriate intentions. The gossip tore into Mira's fragile sense of safety. She tried distancing herself. She tried keeping Lily